Assalamu alaikum. How are you all? I hope you would have enjoyed your weekend. During our past two lectures, we have been discussing political systems in Pakistan and political parties, right? So, if you remember, I have defined political parties. I have briefly explained political systems in Pakistan, and then what are the hurdles political parties have been facing in Pakistan, right? So we have discussed these things. Today we will carry on with that same topic. So we were discussing problems faced by political parties, right? So another problem which political parties in Pakistan face is that they do not have a proper vision for the future, right? Lack of vision is there among the political parties. Almost all political parties, they lack a proper vision for Pakistan. Where do they stand and where do they want to take Pakistan from this point, right? So this vision is lacking among most of the political parties. Some parties might say that the biggest problem in Pakistan is corruption, while others would say that the biggest problem in Pakistan, that is lack of infrastructure, while some other parties would say that it is poverty. Like for example, Pakistan People's Party, its main slogan, all its main slogans, they revolve around poverty, inequality and things like these. While the main slogans of Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz, these slogans usually revolve around infrastructure development in Pakistan. Their main emphasis is on the development of infrastructure, while the main slogans of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, which is a comparatively new political party, it revolves around corruption. And that corruption, the idea of corruption, they normally use this idea or this slogan to counter Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz supremacy, right? While on the other hand, the main slogan of Islamic political parties, these slogans or these aims, they revolve around the implementation of Islamic system in Pakistan. But whenever they talk about Pakistan, may it be economic problems of Pakistan, may it be some structural problems in the polity of Pakistan, they would propose that Islam is the only solution to all their problems, right? But when they found an opportunity in 2002 in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, then we saw that they did not materialize their slogans, they did not do anything concrete for the implementation of Islam, right? So the main thing is that these political parties, they lack vision. They do not have a proper vision, right? So now why is it happening in Pakistan? As you can see that the emergence of political parties, right, that is directly related to material and cultural advancement of a society in which citizens are free to form groups and associations and to articulate their demands and problems. So if the society is not advanced, if the citizens are not free to form groups, if they are not free to, if they cannot think freely, then definitely they cannot articulate their demands and problems in a proper way. They might be indoctrinated by political parties that these are their problems they are facing, but then at the end of the day they would realize that actually these were not the problems they were facing. It was the political parties have just manipulated them, right? So the society is not advanced, and that is why we see this, because these political parties, they are a reflection of our society. They either represent us in our entirety, or they just manipulate the ignorant masses, right? So both these phenomena, they are at work in Pakistan. Okay, then the low level of such advancement and the lack of freedom in Pakistani society, particularly during the first decade, constrained the development of parties. Now you can see, right, during the first decade particularly, right? So it constrained the development of political parties. So thus this phenomenon led to a myopic vision of these political parties, right? Because there was lack of freedom in Pakistan. People could not express their views freely. If you oppose Pakistan Muslim League would brand you as a traitor. So that is a bar, that is a constraint on the freedom of speech, on the freedom of thought, right? So if this freedom of speech is not there in a society, if the freedom of thought is not there in a society, then definitely you cannot expect that in a society which is kind of incarcerated, you know, ideologically, in a box, and that would produce vibrant political parties, right? Because as I have already told you that political parties are kind of representatives of the people. It represents the mindset of the people. It either represents the true mindset of the people, or it manipulates the ignorant masses. So if that thing was not there, then definitely we saw the impact of these two constraints on the growth of political parties in Pakistan and their myopic vision, their limited vision about the future of Pakistan. Okay. Now, the lost vision, like the lack of vision, and then the lost vision. I will explain this in a bit detail. Like in the 1990s, the course of the political development in Pakistan changed. Why? Because General Ziaul Haq was killed in a plane crash, in an accident, right? And then Pakistan People's Party and Pakistan Muslim League, they got an opportunity to rule the country one by one after the other, right? So this course of political development changed. But the thing is that we were on the eve of the 21st century. So that political direction and vision which was supposed to be there for us to enter the 21st century or embrace the 21st century, right, with all its changes and its dynamics, that was lost. Because both these political parties, they were kind of involved in the power grab. They did not allow the other political party, like PPP was given an opportunity in 1988, but then it was overthrown, right? So PMLN was kind of involved in conspiracies against it, and it was overthrown. Then PMLN was there, and then PMLN was overthrown. Then PPP came again, and it was overthrown. And then PMLN came, and then PMLN was overthrown again in 1999. So, you know, this 11 or 10 years, they just passed in these kind of palatial intrigues, but we did not enter the 21st century with a vision, right? So that political vision was kind of lost, right? While other countries, they were embracing the 21st century with all its changes, we did nothing about it, right? Then major political parties, like particularly which I have been explaining, Muslim League and People's Party, power struggle was there, right? Floor crossing, it was a very important thing. Though it's not there right now, but it was there in the 90s. Floor crossing, for example, a person would be elected from the platform of one political party, and while in parliament, in the legislature, that person, that MNA, that MPA would change his or her loyalties, and thus it would change the course of the government. For example, a government needs, in order to formulate a government, the Prime Minister or one needs to have a simple majority in the parliament, right? So, but if a party is having a simple majority in the parliament, and then a few members of that party, they are involved in the floor crossing, like they are crossing floor from one party, they are switching from one party to another party, right, because of kind of intrigues, then what happens is that the Prime Minister would be asked to take a confidence vote again from the parliament, and if the members are not there with him, whom were basically elected on the party's ticket in the general election, So the people voted for that particular person just because of the party, maybe because of the parties, of their affiliation with the parties. But then when they cross the floor and they join, for example, a member of PPP joins PMLN, or a member of PMLN joins a member of joins PPP within the parliament, then it creates an imbalance, and that numerical supremacy which the ruling party would have, that would disturb, right? So that was a kind of a problem which these parties were facing in the 1990s, right? Though it is not there as a result of a constitutional amendment, this thing has been banned right now. It cannot happen now. But then in the 1990s we faced it, the polity faced it, right? And then corruption throughout the whole decade, right? Corruption was there, like 2 times the government of like 2 times the government of PPP was ousted, and 2 times the government of PMLN was ousted. And what happened over there? If you probe the main causes for that, every time the president would dissolve the National Assembly, would say that the government was involved in kind of corruption. You know, so corruption was rampant. So that was the 90s, and that was the transition from dictatorship to democracy in the 1990s after the death of General Zia-ul Haq, right? So we faced it in the 1990s. Then lack of vision weakened them to the extent that the governments of Benazir and, right? So I have already explained this, that these governments, they were overthrown, right? And the dissolution syndrome was there. Then weakness of political parties in Pakistan is evident from the massive proliferation, high rate of mortality, their fragmentation into small and ineffective factions, their regionalization, ethnicization, right? Indifference to formulate coherent programs and policies for winning the support of the broad strata of society. Basically, these are some of the causes for the weakness, right? Like proliferation, high rate of mortality, fragmentation of political parties, one political party into another political party, like, you know, PML was there, then PMLN, then, you know, Pakistan People's Party, and then a few more factions would spring out of that party. So it affected the politics in Pakistan in the 1990s, right? Then regionalization was there. A party would represent a specific region, not the whole nation. Then a party would appeal to the ethnicity from which the leadership of that party would have emerged. It would appeal to the on ethnic lines. It would do politics like in current day scenario. We say that the Sindh card, the Punjab card. What is this? This is ethnicization, right? So why not the Pakistan card? Why just the Sindh card, the KP card, or the Pashtun card, or the Punjab card, or the Balochi card, though there is no Balochi card, right? But yeah, but why? Why these different kinds of ethnic cards are there? Why not one national card is there with the parties, right? So that also struck these political parties in the 1990s. Then what happens that indifference to formulate coherent programs and policies for winning the support of the broad strata of society. So they were basically involved in these kind of things, right? In these kind of things, right? So what happens is that when their focus, the political party's focus was here, here, and here, and here, right? So they ignored this thing. Programs and policy, coherent programs and policies for the public, in order to resolve the issues of the people in Pakistan, right? So their attention, their priorities were different, right? So this was also a bad thing in the politics of Pakistan. Then, with weak institutional roots in society, parties are amorphous groups tied together by their leaders. Some leaders are charismatic while others are not charismatic. Some becoming party leaders because of their wealth, while others due to inheritance, right? So institutions are weak, party is also an institution and it is also weak, right? So this institutions in the society, they are weak. So parties were weak. When these parties were weak, they were amorphous, they were changing their faces all the time, their shapes all the time, right? And they were tied together by their leaders, not by their manifestos, not by their vision, and not by their programs for the masses, but just their leaders. So some of the leaders, they were charismatic, like Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, he was a charismatic leader. But then some other leaders, they were not charismatic, right? Then as I have explained in the previous class, that party needs funding, and some of the filthy rich, or some of the rich, the affluent people, they join parties, political parties, right, just to increase their, to combine their personal vote bank with the vote bank of the party and win the election. So when these rich join the parties, the political parties, then the political parties are kind of hijacked by these rich people, because they need funding, and the funding is provided by these rich people who join the party. So the leaders, some leaders, they become leaders because they are rich, right? And others become leaders because their forefathers or their fathers have established the party. Last time I explained this thing, but let me reiterate it again over here, that inheritance is, you can see this phenomenon of inheritance in almost all major political parties in Pakistan except Jamaat-e-Islami, right? Then you can, like Pakistan People's Party, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto established, Benazir Bhutto succeeded after his death, Bilawal Bhutto after the death of his mother, right? So that is inheritance. Then you see Awami National Party, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Abdul Wali Khan, and then Asfandiar Wali, right? Then JUI, Jamiat Ulama-e-Islam, now it's JUIF, right? Established by, like the first leader of that party was Maulana Mududi, and then after his death, the leadership was given to Maulana Fazlur Rahman. And if you see, even Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, though there are not direct relatives of Imran Khan are there in the party, but then what about the second line leadership? Their relatives are there in the party, right? So even that party is kind of based on inheritance, not directly because Imran Khan doesn't have a family member in this party, in Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, but then look at many political leaders, second line leadership in the party, and then their family members, they have been given kind of portfolios, and I'm sure that they would be given electoral tickets as well, right? So even all major political parties, but except Jamaat-e-Islami, I would say, right? You can challenge me, you can say that no, yeah, I would accept, but this is something I think that it is there, these are facts, so we cannot deny these facts, right? But vision is not there with Jamaat-e-Islami as well, right? So if it is fulfilling the criteria of merit over here, that inheritance is not there, leadership through inheritance is not there, not prevailing over there in Jamaat-e-Islami, but then the lack of vision is there, right? Then lack of citizens' participation in the political parties, because political parties are made for citizens. They are kind of representatives of the people, of the people's demands and everything, right? So, but then lack of participation is there in the political parties. If the masses are not around the political parties, right, then you can not expect that this political party would lead the country towards a better destination, because the masses are not interested in the participation. And there are rarely any membership campaigns conducted by these parties. If you see political parties in the West, in the developed countries, developed democracies, then you can better know that membership campaigns are part and parcel of the party's manifesto or the party's conduct. But over here in Pakistan, we rarely see this membership campaign, right? There is no such membership campaigns being run by these political parties. So how, if they are not incorporating the masses, if they are not reaching out to the masses, then how do they expect that people will participate, right? Because people have a lot of other issues as well. So if they are not participating in the electoral process, if they are not participating in the political process through these political parties, and if they are not participating, it means that they are not aware about the manifestos, about the vision of the party, if there is a vision, right? So basically this lack of participation is also weakening the political parties. The lack of participation of masses is also weakening the political parties in Pakistan. Tell me, how many of you have participated in the political parties, programs, corner meetings and this and that? How many of you have participated? See, no one. I can barely see any hand, right? So no one is participating. Neither do I, right? So then how can we expect that these political parties would be aware about our demands? And it is not purely our fault. They do not reach out to us, right? These political parties, they do not reach out to us, right? So that's why we are unaware about these kind of activities, but they are important. If you want these political parties to play a stronger and vibrant role in the society, then participation of masses is quite important for it. If that is not there, then we should not expect that these parties would represent us. They would play a vibrant role for our development, for the development of the society, right? Then and then one more thing, we see that people have joined these political parties, though we all of us, we haven't joined these parties, but then we have seen people who have joined these political parties, right? Like the members, a few people you might know and a few people I know, that they are quite active members of political parties. But what happens? What happens is that they are, with the passage of time, demoralized when they go close, when they get close to these political parties and they see their working closely, monitor them minutely, observe them, then they are demoralized. They say that okay, their slogans are something else, but the practice, there is a huge gap between the theory and the practice. So theoretically, yeah, all the slogans are right, these are our needs, but practically they do not do anything. So then they are demoralized, they are not given adequate chances to have their say in the policy matters. So people, even those people who have joined it, they have been demoralized. I have seen many people who were kind of diehard supporter of different political parties. I would not name them, right? But almost all political parties. I have seen supporters of those political parties. And then I have seen them closely, that with the passage of time, those staunch supporters, they just change their loyalties. They just start criticizing everything in the party, and ultimately they leave the party because they say that they are not heard. Nobody is paying heed to their views, so then why they have joined the party? They have made sacrifices, but now the leadership is not willing to pay heed to them, right? So this is a dilemma with the political parties, and part of the problem lies in the inner working of these parties, which does not provide a sense of participation to the members, right? So these members are treated like followers, like blind. The political parties leaders, they expect the members of the parties to be blind followers. So if these members of the parties, they express certain views which are not aligned with the views of the leadership of the political party, then the leadership sideline these workers. Normally it happens in all political parties. So the leadership sideline these workers, and then these workers, they are kind of disheartened, and then they do not participate willingly in the programs of the party, and a point comes where these workers, they just change their loyalties. They either become apolitical or they join the other camp, right, in order to search the right place for them. So this happens in Pakistan, and that is also an aspect which is weakening the political parties in Pakistan. Then lack of mutual understanding, right? So this is another factor which is weakening the political parties in the country. Like Pakistan's political parties lack mutual trust and understanding. The culture of political dialogue has never taken roots in Pakistan. This is very important. This is very important. We see in the West that political dialogue is always there, right? Well, even if there is difference between two political parties, even then the leaders of the parties and the supporters of the parties, they would sit together and they would discuss the issues. But what happens over here in Pakistan, that these political parties' leaders and their workers and their supporters, they consider the leaders, the workers and the supporters of other political parties as their staunch enemies. They do not talk to them. It's not politics, it's like a war in Pakistan all the time. During election you just see it. People are being killed during the election campaigns, and it's like a war in Pakistan all the time. And there is the culture of dialogue between political parties has never been established, right? So if that culture of dialogue has never been established, then it creates problems for the growth of political parties, right? So this mutual understanding is lacking in Pakistan. So when this mutual understanding is like in the United States of America, whenever there are elections, you see that there are rounds of debates among the candidates, the presidential candidates, right? Rounds of debates are there, are held, and then these are peaceful debates. They just beat each other with arguments, right? Not with weapons. But at least I haven't seen in Pakistan such kind of a culture, right? I have been casting my vote since 2002, but I haven't seen this kind. So like, you know, the fourth election since 2002 will come in 2018, but I haven't seen in the past three elections, 2002, 2008 and 2013, I haven't seen any culture of political debate among different political parties. Like, why don't these leaders discuss different political issues in a televised debate? Why don't they do it, right? They should just, rather than, you know, abusing each other in public gatherings and isolated sittings, why don't they just come together on one platform and in front of the television cameras, and then why don't they defend their own arguments? Why don't they present their own agendas, their foreign policy? What is their stance on the foreign policy? What is their stance on the education? What is their stance on the economic policies of the country? And why don't they face each other? Like, you know, if, for example, if one political leader presents his argument in, let's say, 30 minutes, then the other would present his own arguments, his own plan, his own agenda in the rest of the 30 minutes. And then there should be a time given to these political leaders to criticize each other agendas in 15 minutes, and then afterwards they should also face the audience, right? So proper time should be given to them, and they should articulate their views in that particular time, and only through this manner we will come to know about the real differences between these political parties. But because I honestly, frankly, I don't see any kind of difference in their agendas. It's just their, you know, their own egos and their own struggle for power that they are negating each other in public gatherings. But if you minutely observe their manifestos, you would rarely find any difference between their manifestos. So then why they are fighting with each other? Because this lack of mutual understanding. There is a lack of mutual understanding between these political parties and their leaders, right, and their workers and their followers as well, right. So this is there. Now only the circumstances brought the Pakistan People's Party and Pakistan Muslim League together into an alliance for the restoration of democracy to put pressure on President Musharraf. That was in 2005, 6, 7 and 8. That these political parties, though the leadership of both these parties were in exile, and they exerted pressure on President Pervez Musharraf from abroad, right, and then he succumbed to the pressure, and what happened was that because they made an alliance for the restoration of democracy in the country, right, so he just gave way to them, and so that was I think the first time in the history of Pakistan that these two rival political parties, they came closer to each other because of their common goal, which was to rid Pakistan from Musharraf, right, the politics of Pakistan from Musharraf. So that was their own agenda, and then they came closer to each other based on that agenda. Apart from it, they never get close to each other. Then we saw, like during the 2008 to 2013 Pakistan People's Party's rule, we saw that agitations were there. These agitations were staged by Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz against Pakistan People's Party, and so these kind of things were happening in Pakistan, and this is only one instance which I have mentioned over here, that these parties got close to each other. Mainstream as well as the ethno-regional parties lack internal debate over policy matters or policy alternatives, right? So I have already explained this part, right, that they are never involved in the policy alternatives. They are just, they just make kind of personal comments on the leadership of the party. They just make some below the belt attacks on others, other leaders, but if you analyze the content of their speeches, the content of their what they have been saying, you would come to know that they do not have a vision, they do not present an alternative, right? They are just reiterating the same things with little variation, right? So this is what they do. Normally these political parties, this is what they do. Their priorities and preferences are not an outcome of the household debates and discussions, right? Like in people usually think that what are these leaders doing? Even an ordinary person on street, he knows better than these leaders. So basically they are not involved in these kind of things, right? They are not concerned, these political parties are not concerned with the policy matters. All they are concerned is with to grab the power. So this is the dilemma of the political parties in Pakistan, right? And then most of the things, they are identified with their leaders. Most of the, if you ask the follower of a political party that why you are following that party, he or she would tell you that it is because of the leadership of that party, right? They like the leader, they like the offspring of such and such leaders. So that is why they are following it. So it is a kind of, I would say, okay, leave it. Then accountable democracy cannot function in Pakistan until drastic changes are made in the formation and functioning of the political parties in Pakistan, right? So what do we mean by accountable democracy, right? Accountable democracy, to me, it is that kind of a democracy in which you are, democracy is definitely the will of the people. So, but then these representatives, they are accountable to the people as well. They are accountable to different institutions made for accountability as well. But then this accountable democracy is, it cannot function in Pakistan until some drastic changes are made in the formation and functioning of political parties. Because if the leadership of the party is in habit of blind obedience, blind following by the followers, then how can one expect that he would allow some certain institutions to make him accountable for his deeds, right, for his acts, for his practices? So this accountable democracy is not there in Pakistan, and it cannot be ensured at the national level unless and until changes are made in the structure of the political parties. So this is now a way forward. I have explained different problems of political parties. Now we will be discussing some remedies for these problems, right? What are the remedies for these problems? So this is one of the remedies, that the structure of political parties in Pakistan should be overhauled, right? It should be changed, and changes should be made. Otherwise, we will never be able to see accountable democracy in the country, right? Then these and these changes should be brought in such a manner that it serves and represents the people through a transparent political system in the country. So these changes, these drastic changes, it should be the aim of these changes. This should be the aim of these changes, right? Okay, then education professional and progressive minded middle class citizens do not have any chance to participate in the democratic process. So now if educated professionals are not participating, if the progressive minded middle class is not participating in the political process, in the democratic process in the country, then how one can expect, how does one expect that we would see a viable democratic system in the country, right? Because to me, this middle class is basically the stronger the middle class, the stronger the country is. So this middle class, this active, vibrant middle class and educated professionals, they can give real input to the political parties, right? And if the political parties accept their input, if they incorporate their input in their policies, then we would see a real change in the country. But unfortunately, this educated professional and middle class, they haven't been given a chance to participate actively in the political process, in the democratic process in the country. Tell me, how many of you go to vote? How many of you participate in the democratic process, right? Apart from a few, I doubt that the rest of us, we are actively participating. We are part of the middle class, right? But we are not actively participating in the political process. We normally say that politics is not for us. Our votes do not matter. Our voices are not heard, right? This is the general aptitude towards a political process in the country. We think that politics is not for us. Politics is the job of someone else's, right? And politics is not the job of a white-collar person, of a middle-class person. It is the job of elites, and then the lower class, they follow these elites. So the middle class and the educated professionals, they are kind of left out in the political process in the country, right? And partly because of their own attitude, and partly because of the political parties' approach, that they do not offer a chance to these educated people to participate in the political process in the country, right? Usually when you go to a political gathering of a political party, with a few exceptions, you would find people who are not that much educated, right? And you would find people who do not possess any kind of professional knowledge of things. So their slogans are quite ordinary, their logics are quite ordinary. So this is common across all political parties, right? So this is a problem in Pakistan, and this problem should be addressed if we want a democratic process in the country to prevail and to take this country from this position, to a good position, to a better position in the future. Then the participation of educated professionals who would provide their input on different aspects, for example on the aspect of economy, on the aspect of foreign policy, on the aspect of defense policy, and there are many other different aspects, right? And the aspect of technological advancement in the country. So these professionals should be given a chance. And then the progressive minded middle class, because without this progressive minded middle class, the conservative minded people would always have a hold on the politics in Pakistan, and then the politics in Pakistan would always revolve around petty issues. It will never discuss the real issues the society is facing. It will always discuss petty issues, and people will follow these parties, and they appeal to the emotions of the people rather than the logic of the people, because this progressive middle class mindset is missing from it, right? Then our failure to recognize the need to restructure the political party system on the fundamental principles of democracy has destroyed our national institutions by corruption and nepotism, right? We have miserably failed to recognize the need to restructure the political party system in Pakistan on the basis of democracy, because restructuring of these political parties on the basis of democracy simply means that there should be internal democracy introduced in the political parties in Pakistan, among the political parties in Pakistan. But this failure has basically brought us to this stage, to this point that we are now facing a crisis in the country, and every now and then the country is faced with a new crisis, one crisis after another, right? So the country is facing these crises, and this is because of our failure to recognize. We would always say that there should be a genuine democracy in the country, but we never think of having genuine democracy within the political parties themselves, right? So this failure has basically contributed a lot to the current miseries, political miseries of the country, right? National institutions have been destroyed by corruption and nepotism. Whenever there is a leader, a political leader, you would have experienced this, you would have heard about it in your own villages, in your own cities from where you belong. You would have heard about it, that such and such person is the relative of such and such MNA or such and such MPA. He has given jobs to these kind of jobs were created by this MNA or this MPA, right? Without naming them, I can tell you that the party in government, it appoints people in thousands in different government sectors, and if, for example, if the party in the government is party A, so people belonging to the territory from where party A, the leadership of party A comes, people belonging from that territory, you would find those people in many government institutions, right? And then if party B comes into power, people belonging from the territory from where the leadership of party B comes from, people belonging from that territory, you would find them in thousands in different sectors, in different organizations, right? So this is a negative thing, and this is just because that we could not restructure this political party system in the country. Had we restructured this political parties system in the country, we would have seen a different Pakistan today. We would not have seen the rule of corruption and the rule of nepotism in our institutions, in our educational institutions, in our economic institutions, and many other institutions. We would not have seen this. But this is because that the leadership would always try to appease people, it would always try to capitalize on the sentiments of people, and then, like for example, in order to increase their vote bank, rather than doing good for the area, for the infrastructure, for the for the development of educational institutions and health institutions and other institutions in that particular area, the leadership of the party would depend on appointments of people from that area in different institutions, and that would benefit that leader in the elections, in the upcoming elections, right? In the coming elections, this is basically the mindset of the leadership, which is not elected as a result of internal democracy in the political parties. That leadership is not elected. So this is basically his mindset, that if I appoint, for example, 2,000 people in 1 year, or 4,000 people in 1 year, so in the coming election, like, you know, if I induct a total of 20,000, let's say, people in 5 years, so in the coming election these 20,000 people will be part of kind of bureaucratic structure or the establishment of the country, and then they will favor me in the upcoming election. So this is basically the mindset, and this is what we call favoritism or nepotism, right? So this favoritism and nepotism is there, and then these appointments are even made against some money by these political leadership leaders, right? There are many instances in which you would have heard in your own area that such and such vacancy is being sold, right? This is the price of that vacancy. If you want to be inducted as an officer in a particular department, then this is the price. You need to pay this price to that particular person, and he will give this money to the MNA or MPA, and then the MNA and MPA or the minister will appoint you, right? So this is a corruption, this favoritism and nepotism, but on the other hand corruption is also there. So basically all these things, they are eating the very heart of our society. They are not allowing the country to progress, right? Because as a result of corruption, incompetent people, they occupy different positions, and when incompetent people occupy different positions like nepotism and favoritism, right? So if this incompetent people occupy different positions, they not only get involved in corruption, because it is the same phenomena. If a person is spending too much money on his election process, then whenever he would come, that rich person who would have joined the political party, when he would come to power, he would definitely try to earn more money as a result of corruption to to balance the equation, because he has spent a lot of money on the party and in the electoral process. He has been supporting many candidates as well. So when a person comes as a result of corruption, when a person is appointed as a result of corruption in a department, then in a government department, then that person, if he has paid someone, for example 1 million rupees or 2 million rupees or 3 million rupees against a position, right, against an appointment, so then that person would try to extract that money while he is serving on that particular position, and he will also get involved in corrupt practices, because he has spent a lot of money, he has paid someone, right? So if the MNA is corrupt, if the MNA is asking for bribes, then why not this person who has been appointed, and in the first place when he was being appointed, he was giving bribes to someone. So why this person should now refrain from getting bribes from other people in order to earn some money and compensate for that thing which he compensate for that money which he has already paid to that corrupt person, right? So this is basically a very you might say a gloomy picture in the polity of Pakistan, but I would say that the roots are there in the structure of political parties. If you democratize these political parties, and if merit is prevailed over there in these political parties, then you can say that this practice would not this practice would stop, right? Otherwise this would happen, and Pakistan would never see a good viable democracy in this country unless and until political parties they show their willingness to restructure themselves, right? So I would thank you all for listening to me patiently during this class, and in tomorrow's lecture we will take from here. We will carry forward this discussion and we will try to conclude it tomorrow, inshallah. Have a good day. Thank you very much.